Hiya, and welcome back to Lyre, the game that teaches us that the absolute best method in order to deal with rule breakers is to beat the ever-loving shit out of them. I cannot remember where we left off last, so we're going to use the handy-dandy chapter tool. We're just going to go through this again. I do not trust the save files at all. At least I think I don't. Let's try it quick. Like if I were to go back, yep, we are on the right file. I told you you're coming with. The last thing is yours pick up. Yeah, we already did that. Yeah, we're on the right one. Save file is good. Part 2, Adrius. Wow, that's fast. I really need to, fix all this earlier. There we go. A chilly draft settles on the ground beneath Adrius's hooves. The entire throne room is thick with silence. The silence is so strong that one could possibly hear their own thoughts echoing off of the walls. Adrius leans into the throne, the great hunk of wood standing tall in the mass of ground beneath it. Royal guards clad in snowy white cloaks line the steps up to the tree-like chair, each facing forward, the sunlight bouncing off of their armor. Yeah, that's not picking up. Let me... There we go. Okay, just constantly adjusting this. Alright. Elizabeth and Leaf are positioned on each side of the throne. Liz is on his right, sitting in a small chair placed on the step. She's looking at the ground, deeply lost in thought. Leaf stands to his left, his arms behind his back, rocking back and forth on his taloned feet nervously. The bird was always skittish, but what happened this morning has left him more on edge than usual. Yeah. Adrius drums his hard fingertips on the arm of the throne, his patience draining by the minute. I thought he was already in our custody? Liz looks up from the ground and straightens her posture, glancing in Adrius's direction before responding. I'm sure they will be here any moment now. You have to remember, they're not here to be put on trial. The position they've been put in because of this situation. They've been put between the hammer and the anvil, so to speak. Respectfully, Elizabeth, I don't see it that way. They may not have been caught at the scene of my father's murder, but I feel they're trying just as hard to drag this kingdom into the ground. Your Majesty, I'm afraid I must agree with Minister Rain. Leaf tiptoes forward a bit, trying his best to keep eye contact, but constantly glancing around the room. In my experience with him, he only seems to be a bit eccentric. Then explain to me why he would try something so rash. I can't explain that. That is something I am unable to gauge. But don't worry, we're going to find out. Hiya. Adrius takes a deep breath and slumps into the large chair. The fact that he would attempt something like this, everything adds up, but it's still so unpredictable. Hiya. Not only that, but it could ruin everything. My only concern is that finding out might open up more problems. Even if it doesn't, more problems are sure to come our way regardless. I hope that... Liz starts to respond, but she looks in the direction of the large doorway as faint footsteps can be heard approaching. Ah, good. Adrius stands from the throne and watches as two castle guards walk in, their faces stoic. The cat they're escorting, however, looks less than pleased. Even with his slightly annoyed face, Lord Kadage walks confidently down the hall, following behind the two guards as a few of Kadage's own Drizian guards follow behind him. The castle guards stop the Drizian guards from approaching any further as the cat makes his way up the hall. Kadage stops a short distance from the steps up to the throne and throws himself into a bow, looking up at Adrius and rising from his lowered position. I had not thought to be summoned so abruptly. But when the guards insisted, well, I had no choice. Your Majesty, was there something else that you needed from me? Adrius toys with his gloves and looks down at Kadage with a cocked eyebrow. Was there something I had already requested of you, my lord? Well, I've scarcely had the luxury of freedom. Being able to go where I please and do as I like. I only assumed that there's more restrictions you would like to put in place. So terribly sorry for the inconvenience, but as you know, we'll be needing you in the next couple of days. Especially considering your role in all of this. That's the least of our... By the way, I'm so glad you decided to bring up the topic. It really does beg the question. Adrius gestures to the southern window. Why are you trying to leave? The words echo throughout the hall, rising up to the ceiling like heat in a cold room. That begs the question of how many flies you have listening in on my private conversations. Kadage says this with a bit of levity, but nobody else is humored. He coughs and waves his paw in the air. I wasn't trying to leave before the trial, if that's what you were thinking. No? What gave you the assumption you could leave at all? Kadage's shoulders rise a bit hearing this. It just seems that someone decided to slack your leash a bit too much. It will become very tiring having to reel in my close advisors at times as troubling as these. A close advisor who is also a suspect, as you know. According to your dogs, at least. Adrius clenches his fist, but his face stays calm. You don't need to remind me, cat. Kadage continues. Being a suspect, I'm not much help in an investigation aside from answering the questions thrown my way. My next contribution will of course take place 4 days from now. Liz leans forward in her seat, her chin resting on a balled-up fist. What is the point you are trying to make? Kadage shifts his weight to his other leg, looking up at Adrius, his large green eyes piercing his own with a feeling Adrius can't quite describe. I would think that reeling me in wouldn't be on your list of priorities. If you wish to take me on as a witness, I will be right here, but right now my usefulness seems to have run its course. At least not until the trial. Adrius sits back down, running his hands along the arms of the chair impatiently. So you claim you were only making plans to leave after the trial? In a way, yes. Whether you departed now or later doesn't matter. Even leaving after the trial still goes against our agreement with Driss. You understand this, do you not? Of course I do. Kadage leans his head to the side, looking down at the ground with theatrical guilt plastered on his face. If it helps clear things up, I only wanted to be sure such options would be open to me when the time came. Then I was going to bring the proposition to you, your highness. Kadage gestures to Adrius, who rises in his seat. That is a very peculiar story. Peculiar, yet true. That is one thing people never expect from me, but I tell the truth quite a lot. To me, it doesn't make much sense to make such a proposal without first knowing whether my retainers would be able to make the journey so soon. I'm sure all of us have figured it out, but just to be clear, what is this proposal? Liz smooths out her robes and straightens her posture, as if to let Kadage know that he has her full, undivided attention. Yeah, it is. I know that contact with Aaron and my own kingdom has already been made, but I feel that it won't be enough to cool the flames, even after this business is settled with our unfortunate Iranian lord. He steps forward a bit. Adrius can't help but be intrigued by what he had planned. He knows that he can't be trusted entirely, but something about this cat strikes his curiosity. As Kadage tries to continue with his plea, a commotion can be heard coming up from the hallway. The racket gets louder and everyone stands up and turns toward the entrance. The guards at the door stand at the ready, while 2 of them go out into the hallway. When they return, a few more guards and 2 members of the royal guard enter. One of them is Finn, the eagle who usually gets assigned with Bjorn. The other one looks to be far worse for wear, his arms slung around Finn's shoulder for support. His cape is ripped and armor scuffed and scratched. Adrius quickly realizes that it's Lyle. His face is wrapped in bandages with one of his eyes covered up. One would be surprised if he could even speak with the amount of bandages wrapped around his snout. He seems to be able to walk easily, but his head slumping down into the fur around his neck shows that he's not entirely with it. Yeah, he's kind of sus. He's being pretty suspicious right now. Very suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Lyle! Leaf scuttles down the steps up to the throne, making his way over to Lyle. Lyle pats Finn on the chest, and Finn lifts Lyle's arm off of his shoulder, backing away cautiously and allowing Lyle to steady himself. Oh my! Oh my! Damn. What happened? Good lord. Leaf is practically running circles around Lyle, checking him, then making him bend down so he can get a good look at his face. Yeah, hiya. Jesus. He got the shit beat out of him. Damn it, Bjorn. Oh my, your wounds look terrible. These bandages look awful too. I'm fine. Leaf looks up at Finn. How did this happen to him? Lyle blushes and looks at the ground, and Adrius can't tell if it's from embarrassment or all of the commotion Leaf is causing. The wolf looks exhausted, enough to make Adrius' concern almost match his curiosity. Oh yeah, no, we're totally killing Bjorn. That mother... I just whacked the pop filter. That motherfucker's gonna die. A villager found me at the gates to the castle and told me that Bjorn was attacking the captain in the markets. I quickly grabbed as many castle guards nearby as I could, and we made our way into the village. When we got there, Reed had been beaten to a bloody mess and Bjorn was laying on top of him unconscious. Reed was barely conscious, holding together the best he could. A few guards asked around and the townsfolk said Reed was acting in self-defense. One villager said he went for a less violent approach, and once he did, it was over before they knew it. You should. Also, hiya. Now, I'm gonna turn Bjorn into a leather coat. He is going to be my fur coat. That was, Monokuma. That's, I'm trying to remember what it was. Trying to remember what Monokuma's from. Fuck, I can't remember. Oh, that's it, Danganronpa. Yeah. Bjorn's fists were covered in blood, and there wasn't a scratch on him. Why'd he passed out, then? We don't really know for sure. He's currently being taken to the infirmary. It could be his chest pains again. If they got worse, it could be what caused him to pass out. Leaf turns to Adrius. You see, he's been a bit ill lately. Adrius points to one of the castle guards. You there. I need you to go with Leaf to the infirmary so we can check on Sir Bjorn. We all hate Bjorn. Come back once he no longer needs your services. Leaf walks up to Finn, the eagle towering over him. Are Lyle's injuries truly as grave as they look? Or was this just a bit too much bandages from someone hoping to be a field doctor one day? He slowly pans his head in the direction of the other guards, and a few of them try to avoid eye contact. He was all bruised up and bleeding. Looked like he got punched quite a few times in the sniffer. One of his eyes was a bit swollen, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't horribly damaged. Lyle tries to speak up, each word coming out slowly and a bit slurred. The bandages around his snout don't help either, almost acting as a muzzle. I can still see. Leaf beckons Lyle to bend down so that he can inspect him. Oh jeez. Someone get this motherfucker a mega elixir. Kingdom Hearts Final Fantasy. Go get him a mega elixir. Or a mega potion, or whatever. The bird lightly clasps his face between the gloved wings and his gloved wings and slightly lifts the patch on top of Lyle's eye. Your eye looks like it will be fine with proper treatment. You just got all swollen from being punched so many times. Leaf throws his wings into the air in exasperation. Was the blood even properly cleaned? Heavens! Adrius sinks into his seat, letting out an annoyed sigh. No, I shouldn't judge. It's a good temporary treatment. Nevertheless... Leaf breaks into a small run towards the door, sprinting backwards and calling out to Finn. Make sure to have Lyle brought to me as soon as possible. Of course. The guard that Adrius dressed, runs after Leaf, following the small bird out into the hallway. Lyle clasps his paw to his face, rubbing the side of his head. Lyle, how are you feeling? Do you remember what happened? This is Richter's origin story for his villain era. He would, though. Kadage is now sitting on the steps leading up to the throne, holding his tail between his paws. Lyle attempts to respond, but the bandages around his face make it difficult to get even a single word out. He grabs the bandages around his muzzle and stretches them out, allowing him to move his jaw easier. Finn makes a hasty motion to stop him from hurting himself, but he finishes messing with the wraps and continues speaking. I'll be getting new ones in a bit anyway. To answer your question, I feel fine. I've been through worse. He moves his jaw around uncomfortably while speaking, as if setting it back into place. Adrius looks at him, eyebrow raised. He knows that Lyle's had worse happen to him. Still, his pain tolerance must be pretty high. He can't help but remember when he was a young prince and Lyle was just a squire. He had to wear that eye patch for a whole week after getting back from... I don't care about any of that. What truly happened in the market? Lyle recoils slightly, yet still tries to answer that question. Well, Bjorn attacked me because... Hold on, everything is a bit fuzzy. Just try to start over from the beginning. Lyle looks around the room, thinking to himself. After a few moments, he shakes his head in disappointment. I'm sorry, but I really can't remember much of what happened. Just feelings and emotions. Everything's a blur. Do you remember when we talked earlier? A little bit, yeah. I remember most of that, actually. Adrius looks in Liz's direction. When did you two talk? When I went outside earlier. Adrius looks back over to Lyle, gesturing with his hand. What feelings do you remember? Lyle contemplates this for a moment, then answers. Anger. I'd be angry too if someone did that to me. Lyle looks down at the ground in shame. I remember I was winning. Hey, yo! He spoke in the third person for a bit. I think that might be an error. I don't want to fix that. I remember I was winning, but I didn't want to hurt him. Is that why you lost? Possibly. Adrius leans forward in his seat, placing his elbows on his thighs and looking down at Lyle. Yes, well, I thank you for not butchering one of your guards. Adrius knows Lyle would have easily won a duel with Bjorn if he truly was out for blood. Bjorn is most definitely to blame for this fight, but why would he do it? I'm sure your recollection of the events will come in due time, most likely at your own convenience. Not knowing what or why this happened is truly what bothers Adrius. Oh no! Lylica! Bjorn's prone to violence, but not without his own twisted reason. The idea that he would lash out, maybe he knows something Adrius doesn't. He thinks to himself for a few seconds before Liz speaks up. Yes, let's hope for a full recovery on both ends. Bjorn will be punished accordingly once he wakes up from his hibernation, if all holds true. Adrius nods his head. A member of the Royal Guard causing such chaos needs to be handled with care. No punishment at all is out of the question. You're free to go, dog. Go, have Leaf fix you up. We can't have you looking like that on the day of the trial. Adrius holds up a hand, silencing her. Next time, don't lose the fight so easily. A dog who can't keep his subordinates in check doesn't really inspire. Oh, hell no! Hell no! Lyle motions to leave in a huff, and as he's walking out, Adrius rises from the throne. Better yet, I want you wearing that helmet of yours on the day of the trial. Cover up the bruises and whatnot. Can't have your lover seeing you like that. Adrius! Set a good example for the Royal Guard, for once. Lyle's already leaving the room, followed by Finn and the few castle guards still remaining. Kadage's guards also follow behind and stand by the door. What a show. Liz turns around in her chair, looking at Adrius with disgust in her eyes. It makes his stomach lurch, but he resolves to show no emotion. Must you be so harsh to him? Adrius points at the doorway and gestures to the remaining royal guards in the hall. Don't question me in front of them again. Do you understand? Liz has a look of shock on her face for only a moment, before she quickly backs down. Adrius is a bitch. Her fist is tightly clenched, but Adrius doesn't notice. Yes. He almost hated saying that, but he can't let her assume that he can be scolded like a child. The more problems Lyle and the rest of them cause, the more his disdain for them grows. Adrius leans back in his chair, his gaze falling upon Kadage. You'll have to forgive them for the slight interruption. Nothing like that has happened in a long time. It's alright. When I saw what had happened to the captain, I had feared the worst. Why don't we continue from where we left off? What was the proposal you were planning on making? Ah, yes. I understand that you've already tried to make contact with Driss. I'm afraid that it won't be enough, however. So what is it you want? Send me instead. At the end of the trial, I'll leave the city and make for Driss. I can then speak with King Aaron personally. Clear all of this mess up and then return once the flames have settled. Adrius lets out a quick laugh. How could we possibly be sure that you would return? There's two very simple reasons. Having spent quite a while there recently, I'm sure Minister Reen can personally confirm that us Drissians are very true to our word. A promise means a lot to us. Adrius looks to Liz, who begrudgingly nods her head. I'm sure you're also aware of the other reason. That being, I'm not just faithful to one kingdom. Adrius rolls his eyes. Your faith in both Lyre and Driss is expected. Close, but that's not what I meant. I put my faith in all of the kingdoms. I serve Tigran, not just the kingdom I'm currently helping. Kadage takes a step up the stairs. Now do you understand? I wasn't chosen to come here by some king. I volunteered. Lyre's connection with Driss and Aaron is paramount if this kingdom wishes to heal the wounds that have been placed upon it. Those last words cause something inside of Adrius to break. He looks the cat in the eyes as if his gaze could pierce the back of the feline's head. Reconnection? Cooperation? Kadage nods his head. Yes, I'm sure that there are plenty of reasons why that could be beneficial. The power and advanced kingdom of Driss exports many valuables. Gold, so plentiful that it covers the desert's shimmering sands. Salt, that precious mineral that preserves our meats. Not only that, but it helps with the flavor too. Wouldn't you agree? Kadage furrows his brow. I suppose. Stone, granite, materials as sturdy as their people. Adrius rubs his hand along the arm of the throne. I would like to add another pair of exports more common than those prior. His voice shakes a bit as he raises his tone. Weak-willed rulers incapable or unwilling to solve the problems they create, and bandits who travel this world stripping everything good from it. Excuse me? That is not the case. Wars have been started over words less blunt than yours. If your father heard you say such things, he can't, and I'm afraid he never will. Neither will my mother. Oh god, he's even sitting in that chair like a twink. He's just sitting there menacingly. I find myself sitting alone in a court meant for many. My meals are quiet and cold, devoid of motherly concern or fatherly pride. My castle and kingdom goes unchanged without my direct influence. Between your absolute inability to solve even the most basic of issues and allowing your bandits and brigands to take my mother, as well as the exceptionally unexceptional diplomat from Aaron conniving and conspiring to steal my father, I find myself utterly alone on this throne. As for war, what have we to fear of your martial might? You're incapable of disbanding barely armed peasants who would scatter like fleas if a real army descended upon them. My father offered what little assistance he could, but it sadly wasn't enough. It seems both parties were incapable of ridding the world of this pest. Adrius interrupts him once more, continuing with his rant. I think you'll find my forces far more up to the task of combat while under my guidance. We'll see what happens when 5,000 trained soldiers smoke out that rat's nest. Adrius lets out a small laugh which can barely be heard under his breath. There's an idea. Maybe I'll solve our little problem and clear the canyons myself. Kadage's tail swishes side to side anxiously as he speaks up. Where are you going with all of this? If you expect me to fight you on this subject, you're mistaken. Although I must strongly advise against causing tension between Driss and Lyre. Oh, don't worry. This is all purely hypothetical. I would never dream of doing such things without consulting my loyal Minister of War. He turns to Liz as he says this, her brow furrowed and face filled with concern, yet still managing to muster a weak smile. He returns his gaze back to Kadage. I'm merely calling out the weaknesses of your kingdom. You understand what I'm saying, correct? The healing of the wounds left on this kingdom is inevitable, while Driss and Aaron continue to let their own wounds fester. It's as if they have much more important things to worry about. Adrius swings his leg to the side, reclining into a seat further. I can assure you, I will bring peace to this kingdom if it's the last thing I do. Ooh. I love that. I love that CG. Kadage gives a worried yet determined look, his eyes glinting in the light from outside. Do as you wish, your highness. But what is your verdict on my proposal? Adrius sits on the throne silently, thinking to himself. Letting the cat leave after the trial could serve to be useful. It depends how things turn out in the end. Very well. You want to return home so badly? If all goes well with this trial, you may do so. Kadage looks up, his ears rising. I have your word? Yes. Very well. The cat bows slightly. You're dismissed. We'll speak of this later if all goes according to plan. Kadage gives another bow in both Elizabeth's and Adrius's direction. Minister? Yeah, so sad. Your Majesty, I await the next chance we can speak on this matter. His tone of voice is very curt and Adrius can tell he's angry, yet satisfied that he got his good outcome. He walks towards the exit, his tail curved between his legs. His guards quickly to follow behind him. Once again, the room is occupied only by Adrius, Liz, and the royal guards, with Leaf being the only one missing. He sits unmoving on his throne, his chin resting on one hand as the other grips the arm of the throne. The guards stand at attention as the footsteps retreat into the distance, their bounding echoes dying out until the only sound is the scream of silence. It rebounds up and down the hall until even the hardened guards must shift in their armor if just to dispel the lack of noise. The king, however, stays as still as a marionette cut free of its strings. The bandits are such an obstacle for the foolish and fearless, are they not, Liz? I suppose. Adrius looks down upon his guards. Sir Terran, would you be so kind as to find one of the servants? Tell them to retrieve the headsman. They need to visit with the accused like they usually do. Give them solace and renew their faith, saving them from their sins. Or maybe not. Religion was never my expertise. Have it done either way. Sir Terran bows and strides out of the hall, their cape fluttering behind them. I don't know. I don't think it was Kadage, but it might have been Kadage. It definitely wasn't, Lyle or Richter. It definitely wasn't them. Adrius watches on with a dry look upon his face. Liz sits next to the throne, straight-faced and stoic, like a statue, yet her eyes tell a different story. Adrius can't be bothered, however. The two of you in the front can stay. The rest of you are dismissed. The guards turn on their heels and walk out of the grand room, their armor clattering as they trail off. Only two of them stay standing in place, still as statues. Liz rises from her seat and leaves through one of the doors behind the throne. It slams behind her with a loud thud. I think it was Bjorn. Not gonna lie, I think it was Bjorn. The room is drowned in silence once more. Adrius closes his eyes and reclines into the throne. His chest feels heavy, but his mind is focused. Too focused to sleep. It feels as if he's running without moving his body at all. Then it stops. Suddenly, he's one with himself again. Or had he only left his true self behind? Oh? Damn! Alright, time to save. Yeah, so sad, but hey, the update is releasing soon. I don't know, but you know what time it is. You know exactly what time it is. Let me get it all set up. Real quick. I know! I know! I still have to play it. I still have to play it. I still have to, like, play the update. I'm so excited. I'm so excited! Anyways. It's time to create the poll for the... Hiya! Oh, we literally just finished the update. We literally just finished it. Anyways, it's time to decide on the new one. We finished everything in Lyre and roads yet. So sorry. Leveled so far. What game should we play next? Yeah. I think that's what he meant. Okay, poll. And is that it? Oh God. God, so sorry. Okay. Trying to remember which one what they were. By your hands. Oh, Wayfinder. Add that. I remember someone recommended one on YouTube. Let me check which one that was. I'm checking right now. Tennis Ace. Okay, I'll add that. I'm curious what this one was. It's undefeated. He recommended Kingsguard. Let's see what Kingsguard was. Kingsguard, oh my. I haven't. Okay. 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 Well, let's add undefeated. Let's add undefeated. Set it to 0 days and 21 hours, and... Actually, let's remove by your hands. Let's remove that one. And what's this hellish journey? It does. Oh? Oh? Uh... See, I don't know. It seems a little NSFW. Just a little bit. It seems a little NSFW. Anyways, not much else can be said, so head on over and vote, and stay safe, have a good night, and I will see you all tomorrow.